If you sang happy birthday to every human who will be born today, you'd be singing for 6.5 weeks straight without pauses. That estimates to around 386,000 more humans and just as many birthday cakes, piñatas, and visits from rarely seen aunts, just in a single 24-hour window. Did you know that 1 in 15 humans that have ever walked on this planet are alive, living, and breathing right now? When most of today's adults were growing up, there were only 5 billion of us. Now, Earth is home to a whopping 7.6 billion people, and that figure is steadily growing. So, it comes to no surprise that some folks are worried about what will happen if this population growth continues. But it isn't space that is the problem. If we all lived as densely packed as the Manhattan population, the entire human population could fit inside Norway with a fjord or two to spare. That's not too bad. Throughout our history, humans have strived to produce more food with less labor and minimal overhead costs. The efficiency of the agricultural system has been increasing exponentially, especially over the last couple centuries. Taking a look at it from a practical perspective, it becomes clear that no matter how we produce food, there will always be a limiting factor for how many humans we can feed on just our home planet. So this begs the question, what causes population to grow or shrink in the first place? For most of human history, mortality rates have been pretty high indeed. With the onset of agriculture and civilization, humans had to innovate to keep a sustainable population. For most cultures, this meant reproducing more to balance the high death rate. Lots of deaths, balanced by lots of births, ensured a fairly stable population, and that's how our ancestors have ruled for hundreds, thousands of years. The beginning of the 17th century and the scientific and industrial revolutions in Europe led to rapid advancements in transportation, agriculture, and health. Later, during the advent of industry, economic and public health developments meant higher living standards, less disease, and overall, a lower child mortality rate. Mortality rates dropped drastically, but old habits die hard, and people continued to have many children, leading to exponential population growth. Sooner or later, they started to realize more of their kids were likely to survive, and with an increase in opportunities and education for women, fewer babies were born, and the sudden growth in population eventually slackened. With time, when death and birth rates become low, population levels naturally stabilize themselves. For a lot of people, conditions have improved drastically in the past 100 years. Well, if they lived in Europe or North America, because not every country moves through these demographic transitions at the same time. Population growth can slacken in some countries while it peaks in others. Developing nations tend to transition through these stages more rapidly. It took the United Kingdom 95 years to halve birth rates, while Brazil did it in 26 and Iran just 10. Today, birth rates are falling almost everywhere. The less time a country spends in these stages of rapid growth, the quicker the Earth's population stops increasing. Current estimates deem it unlikely that there will ever be a 12 billionth human on Earth. By 2100, our population will probably peak somewhere between 9 and 12 billion. The challenge today is diffusion of what are known as population cluster bombs in pockets of the developing world. There are two ways to accomplish this. Increasing health conditions is by far the most effective way to lower rates of birth. Make baby survivability more reliable and there is less need to overpopulate. Doing this also leads to better family planning. There are always consequences to a growing population, such as lack of resources. The Earth isn't getting any bigger, but we are. The Earth's resources have to provide for all living creatures, but humanity's needs, loosely speaking, continue to increase over time. Right now, you're probably thinking, of course humanity needs more. There are more humans. But the problem here isn't increasing population. In fact, this is only part of the issue. Really, it's that humans are increasingly using more energy and resources per capita over time. In other words, humans are becoming increasingly resource inefficient for the Earth. Under ideal conditions, populations control themselves. This is a natural phenomenon in human history. But still, feeding 10 billion stomachs is no small task. There are already less fortunate people in the world who do not have daily food. The United Nations predicts that if things keep at the current rates, 1.8 billion people will be without access to drinking water by 2025. Humanity needs to develop a healthy relationship with the Earth's resources, or we will be facing the consequences before too long. But it isn't impossible, and it won't take some apocalyptic robot army of forced population control to do it. While history has taught us that population growth has natural checks and balances, we have to find the limits when it comes to creating new ways to live. If you like this video, please subscribe to 26 Dimensions. Researching, writing, planning, animating, and producing these videos takes a lot of time and effort, so your subscription means a lot. I've linked my sources and research materials in the description below. Feel free to leave your comments. Thanks for watching.